The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the most beautiful place in the known universe. Giant pillars made of white stone reached toward a ceiling that showed the stars themselves. Delegates from 100 different species sat in their seats, watching, waiting, and judging. Admiral Tejo stood at the center of the hall. He wore his best uniform, the dark blue fabric pressed and clean. His medals hung on his chest, each one earned through years of service to humanity. Behind him stood Commander Yuna and a small group of human diplomats. They had traveled for 3 months to reach this place. They had prepared for years before that. Today was supposed to be the day everything changed for humanity. The High Speaker of the Council was a tall creature named Vorn. He had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a voice that echoed through the chamber like thunder. His species, the Kelthari, had ruled the Council for 10,000 years. They believed themselves superior to all other life forms in the galaxy. Vorn looked down at the humans with something close to disgust. His 4 eyes blinked slowly, one pair after the other. "You come before this council with a request," Vorn said. "Speak it clearly so all may hear." Tejo stepped forward. His heart beat fast inside his chest, but his face showed nothing. He had learned long ago to hide his emotions. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Tejo began, "humanity requests the right to settle in the inner systems. We ask for 3-star systems, where our people can build colonies and live in peace. We offer our friendship, our trade, and our loyalty in return." The chamber filled with whispers. Some delegates laughed quietly. Others shook their heads or made gestures of disbelief. Vorn raised one of his 4 hands, and silence fell immediately. "You ask for territory in the inner systems," Vorn repeated. "The most valuable space in the galaxy, the heart of civilization itself." "Yes, High Speaker. And what makes humanity worthy of such a gift?" Tejo had prepared for this question. He activated a holographic display that floated in the air before the council. Images appeared, showing human achievements across the centuries. "In just 10,000 years, we grew from simple creatures to a spacefaring civilization," Tejo explained. "We survived ice ages, wars, plagues, and disasters that should have destroyed us. We split the atom, we cured diseases that killed millions. We reached beyond our own world and spread across our solar system. We are survivors. We are builders. We are ready to take our place among the great species of the galaxy." The display showed human cities, human ships, human technology. It showed art and music and science. It showed everything humanity had accomplished. When the display ended, silence filled the hall. Then Vorn began to laugh. It was not a kind laugh. It was the laugh of someone looking at something small and foolish. Other delegates joined him, their alien voices creating a chorus of mockery. Tejo felt his hands tighten into fists at his sides. Behind him, Yuna's breath caught in her throat. 10,000 years, Vorn said when his laughter died. "You speak of 10,000 years as if it were impressive. My species has existed for 3 million years. The Veltari have records going back 5 million. You are children, infants. You have barely learned to walk among the stars, and already you demand the finest rooms in our house." "We do not demand," Tejo said carefully. "We request. We ask only for a chance." Vorn's 4 eyes narrowed. "A chance you have not earned. Your species is too young, too volatile, too dangerous. We have watched you. Humans. We have seen your wars, your violence, your endless hunger for more. You fight among yourselves like animals. You destroy your own world with your greed. Why should we give such creatures a place in civilized space?" "We have changed," Tejo said. "We have learned from our mistakes. Have you?" Vorn leaned forward. "Your species still builds weapons of mass destruction. You still divide yourselves by nation and race and belief. You still kill each other over resources and pride. No. Admiral, humanity is not ready for the inner systems. Perhaps in another 10,000 years, you may ask again." The words hit Tejo like physical blows. He had known this might happen. He had prepared himself for rejection, but hearing it spoken so clearly, with such contempt, still hurt. Then what would you have us do? Tejo asked. Where should humanity go? Vorn waved one of his hands dismissively. The outer rim is open to all. If you wish to prove yourselves, go there. Survive there. Build something that lasts more than a few generations. Then, perhaps, we might consider your request. The outer rim. Even the name sent a chill through Tejo's body. It was the edge of known space. A vast region of dead planets, radiation storms, and cosmic disasters. No species had ever successfully colonized the outer rim. Many had tried. All had failed. It was a graveyard of ambition and hope. The outer rim is a death sentence, Tejo said quietly. You know this. I know that lesser species have failed there, Vorn agreed. But you claim humanity is special. You claim you are survivors and builders. Prove it, or accept that you are exactly what we believe you to be. A young, foolish species that will burn out like so many others before you. Around the chamber, delegates nodded in agreement. Some still wore smiles of amusement. Others looked at the humans with pity, as if watching creatures walking toward their own execution. Tejo stood still for a long moment. The silence stretched out until it became painful. Then he spoke. Very well, Tejo said. His voice was calm now. Steady and cold. If the inner systems are closed to us, we will take the outer rim. We will build where others have failed. We will survive where others have died. And one day, we will return to this chamber. Vorn smiled, showing rows of small, sharp teeth. I look forward to that day, Admiral. Though I doubt I will live to see it. And I have another 1,000 years left in me. Tejo turned to leave. His delegation followed him, their footsteps echoing in the massive hall. As they walked, the laughter of the council followed them. A sound that would stay in their memories forever. Outside the chamber, the human ship waited. It was a small vessel compared to the massive council stations, but it was theirs. It represented everything humanity had built on its own. As they boarded, Yuna finally spoke. She had been silent throughout the entire meeting, recording everything, watching everything. They want us to die out there, she said. The outer rim will kill us. Tejo looked at her. His face was hard, his eyes burning with something that might have been anger or might have been determination. Let them think that, he said. Let them believe we will fade away in the darkness like all the others. But they do not know humans, Yuna. They do not understand what we are capable of when our backs are against the wall. And what are we capable of? Tejo turned to look out the viewport. The council station grew smaller as their ship pulled away, its lights fading into the endless black of space. Anything, he said. We are capable of anything. Our ancestors survived ice ages with nothing but fire and fur. They crossed oceans in wooden ships. They reached the moon in machines made of metal and hope. The outer rim is just another challenge, just another mountain to climb. The ship entered the jump lane, and the stars blurred into streaks of light. Behind them, the council continued its endless debates, already forgetting about the humans they had sent to die. But Tejo did not forget. He sat in his chair and watched the universe streak past, and he made a promise to himself. One day, humanity would return. One day, those who had laughed would learn the truth about his species. One day, the galaxy would remember the name of humanity. Until then, there was work to do. The outer rim waited, dark and dangerous and full of death. And humanity was going to make it their home. The journey had begun. 50 years had passed since the Council's rejection. 50 years since humanity had been sent to die in the darkness of the outer rim. The Council had forgotten about them. Just as Vorn had promised, to the great civilizations of the inner systems, humans were already dead, a footnote in history. A lesson about young species reaching too high. They were wrong. Engineer Minho stood on the observation deck of Station Horizon and looked out at what his people had built. The station was massive, a wheel of metal and light spinning slowly in the void. Around it, ships moved in constant patterns, carrying supplies and people and hope. In the distance, 17 other stations glowed like stars, connected by trade routes that crisscrossed the darkness. Minho was 32 years old. He had never seen Earth. He had never breathed air that did not come from a machine. He had been born in space, raised in metal corridors, and educated by necessity. The Outer Rim was the only home he had ever known, and he loved it. "The radiation harvesters are running at full power," reported Dr. Hana through the communication system. Her voice crackled with static, but Minho could hear the pride in it. "We are converting enough energy to power 3 more stations." Minho smiled. The radiation storms that killed other species had become humanity's greatest resource. What the galaxy called death, humans called fuel. The endless cosmic rays that swept through the Outer Rim were captured by massive collector arrays and transformed into clean energy. It had taken 20 years to perfect the technology, but now humanity had more power than they knew what to do with. "How are the new settlers?" Minho asked. "Adapting well. The latest ship from Earth brought 10,000 people. Our population just passed 3 million. 3 million humans living in the Outer Rim. 3 million people who had chosen to leave the safety of the inner galaxy and join their brothers and sisters in the darkness." The number grew every year as word spread about what humanity was building. Minho remembered the stories his grandmother used to tell him. She had been part of Admiral Tejo's original expedition, a young engineer who had helped build the first station. She spoke of Earth with love and sadness, describing blue skies and green forests and oceans that stretched beyond sight. Minho had never seen such things, but he carried them in his heart. One day, he hoped, humans would return to those beautiful places. But first, they had to prove themselves here. "Minho," Hana said, her voice suddenly serious, "you should come to the command center. There is something you need to see." And Minho left the observation deck and made his way through the station's corridors. People nodded to him as he passed, workers and scientists and families going about their daily lives. Children ran past him, laughing and playing, born into a world that was harsh but full of possibility. The command center was a large room filled with screens and consoles. Hana stood at the main display, her face lit by the blue glow of the holographic projector. "What is it?" Minho asked. Hana pointed at the display. It showed a section of space about 2 light-years away, a region that had been marked as too dangerous to explore. "Our long-range sensors detected something," Hana said. "An energy signature. It is not natural." Minho studied the data. The energy reading was faint but clear, a pattern that could only come from advanced technology. "Another species?" he asked. "No, the signature is too old. Our computers estimate it has been active for at least 50,000 years. Minho felt a chill run down his spine. 50,000 years. That was before most of the Council species had even developed space travel. That was ancient beyond imagination. "Precursor technology," he whispered. The precursors were the greatest mystery in the galaxy. They had existed millions of years ago, a civilization so advanced that they made the Council look like children. They had vanished without explanation, leaving behind only ruins and legends. Every species searched for their lost technology. Finding even a fragment could change the balance of power forever. And now, hidden in the deadliest region of space, humanity might have found something the rest of the galaxy had missed. "We need to investigate," Minho said. "The radiation in that area is extreme," Hana warned. "Our ships can survive it, but it will be dangerous." "Everything we do is dangerous. That is what makes us human," Hana nodded. She had worked with Minho long enough to know there was no point in arguing. When he made a decision, he followed through. "I will prepare an expedition," she said. "But this stays secret until we know what we have found. If the Council learns about this, they will come for it." "The Council thinks we are dead," Minho reminded her. "Let them keep thinking that." While the expedition was being prepared, life continued on Station Horizon. Minho walked through the agricultural section, where massive gardens grew food for the station's population. The plants were modified to grow in artificial light, producing fruits and vegetables that tasted almost like the real thing. An old woman worked among the plants, her hands carefully tending to a row of tomatoes. She looked up as Minho approached and smiled. "Engineer Minho," she said. "Checking on my garden?" "Hello, Elder Yuna." Yuna was the oldest human in the Outer Rim. She had been Commander Yuna once, Admiral Tejo's second-in-command during the journey from the Council. Now she was 93 years old, her hair white, and her face lined with age. But her eyes were still sharp and clear. "You have that look," Yuna said. "The same look Tejo used to get when he was about to do something bold." "We found something," Minho admitted. "Something that could change everything." Yuna set down her tools and looked at him seriously. "Then you must be careful. The galaxy is not kind to humans. We have survived this long by being smart, not by being reckless." "I know." "Do you?" Yuna stood and walked closer to him. Despite her age, she still moved with purpose. "The Council sent us here to die. They believed the Outer Rim would break us. Instead, it made us stronger. We learned to harvest radiation. We learned to live in the void. We built stations and ships and a civilization that no one expected. But we are still small, Minho. We are still vulnerable. One wrong move could destroy everything we have built." Minho listened respectfully. Yuna had earned the right to speak such warnings. "What would Admiral Tejo do?" he asked. Yuna was silent for a moment. Then she smiled, a smile full of memories and old pain. "He would go anyway," she admitted. "He would take the risk, because he believed in humanity's future. But he would be careful. He would plan. He would make sure that even if he failed, the rest of us would survive." "Then that is what I will do." Yuna reached out and touched his face, a gesture that reminded Minho of his grandmother. "You are a good man," she said. "Tejo would have been proud to know you." 2 weeks later, the expedition ship launched from Station Horizon. It was called the Dawn Walker, a vessel designed to survive the worst conditions the Outer Rim could offer. Minho commanded it, with Hana as his chief scientist, and a crew of 50 volunteers. They traveled for days through regions of space that glowed with deadly radiation. The ship's shields held, but barely. Everyone aboard knew they were pushing the limits of human technology. Finally, they reached the source of the energy signature. What they found took their breath away. A structure floated in the void, massive and ancient and beautiful. It was made of a material that seemed to shift between colors. Now silver. Now gold. Now something that had no name. Towers rose from its surface like frozen flames. Lights pulsed along its hull in patterns that suggested purpose and intelligence. It was a precursor station. Not a ruin, but something that still lived. "My God," Hana whispered. Minho stared at the structure, his heart pounding. In that moment, he understood that everything was about to change. The discovery they had made would reshape humanity's future. And the galaxy was not ready for what humans were about to become. "Bring us closer," Minho ordered. "It is time to see what the precursors left behind." The Dawnwalker moved forward into history. The Dawnwalker docked with the precursor station carefully. The ancient structure seemed to welcome them, opening a docking bay that perfectly matched their ship's design. It was as if the station had been waiting for visitors who flew ships exactly like theirs. Captain Junho led the first team inside. He wore a protective suit and carried a scanner in one hand. Behind him walked Navigator Minji and 4 other crew members, all chosen for their skills and courage. The interior of the station was like nothing they had imagined. The walls glowed with soft light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The air was clean and fresh, kept perfect by systems that had run for 50,000 years without failure. Corridors stretched in all directions, leading deeper into the structure. "Life support is active," Minji reported, checking her equipment. "The atmosphere is breathable. We could remove our helmets." Junho hesitated. Everything in his training told him to be careful. But something about this place felt safe, almost welcoming. "Remove helmets," he ordered, "but stay alert." They walked through the corridors, following the energy readings that pulsed from the center of the station. Strange symbols decorated the walls, writing in a language no one had ever seen. Junho recorded everything, knowing that scientists would study these images for generations. "Captain," called one of the crew members. "Look at this." They had found a room filled with displays. Holographic images floated in the air, showing star maps of the galaxy. But these maps were different from any Junho had seen. They showed regions of space that were blank on council charts. Entire sectors that no one had explored. "There is so much here," Minji whispered. "So much we do not know," Junho nodded. The precursors had mapped the entire galaxy. Every star, and planet, and moon. And they had left this knowledge here, waiting to be found. They continued deeper into the station. The energy signature grew stronger with each step, pulling them forward like a beacon. Finally, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the structure. The chamber was circular, with walls that rose so high they vanished into darkness. In the center stood a pillar of crystal, taller than a house and glowing with inner light. Patterns moved across its surface, complex and beautiful and impossible to understand. "This is it," Junho said. "This is the source." Minji scanned the pillar with her equipment. "The energy readings are off the scale. I have never seen anything like this. It is like the pillar contains a small star." Junho walked toward the crystal slowly. Something called to him, a feeling he could not explain. The pillar seemed alive, aware of his presence. "Captain, be careful," Minji warned. Junho reached out and touched the crystal surface. Light exploded through the chamber. For a moment, everything went white. Junho felt knowledge flooding into his mind. Images and concepts and ideas that were too vast to comprehend. He saw the precursors, tall beings of light and energy, building their civilization across the stars. He saw them watch as younger species rose and fell. He saw them make a choice, hiding their greatest treasures in the most dangerous places, waiting for someone worthy to find them. Then the light faded, and Junho could see again. The chamber had changed. Screens now covered the walls, displaying information in a language that somehow made sense. Technical plans, scientific formulas, instructions for building things that the council species had never imagined. "What happened?" Minji asked, rushing to Junho's side. "No," Junho said. His voice was different now, filled with wonder. I understand. I understand why they left this here." He turned to face his crew, his eyes bright with revelation. "The precursors did not vanish," he explained. "They evolved. They became something beyond physical form. But before they left, they created places like this. Tests. Trials. They wanted to find species worthy of inheriting their knowledge." "Worthy how?" Minji asked. Junho pointed to the screens. "Look at where we found this station. In the deadliest region of space. Surrounded by radiation that kills most life. The precursors put their gifts in places that only the strongest, most determined species could reach. Species that refused to give up. Species that survived against all odds." Understanding dawned on Minji's face. Humanity. They were waiting for species like humanity. Yes. The council species stayed in comfortable space. They never pushed into the dangerous regions. They never earned the right to find what was hidden there. But we did. We came to the outer rim because we had no choice. We survived because we are stubborn and brave and refuse to die. And now, Junho looked at the technical displays that filled the walls. Now we inherit everything the precursors left behind. The next weeks were a blur of activity. Teams from Station Horizon came to study the precursor station, carefully copying every piece of knowledge they found. The information was beyond anything humanity had developed on its own. There were plans for new types of engines that could cross the galaxy in days instead of months. Shield technology that could absorb energy attacks and convert them into power. Weapons that bent the fabric of space itself. Medical advances that could cure diseases and extend life. Manufacturing systems that could build anything from raw materials. Engineer Minho worked day and night, barely sleeping as he tried to understand what they had found. "This changes everything," he told Dr. Hana one evening. They stood in a laboratory aboard the precursor station, surrounded by floating displays of technical data. "With this technology, we could build ships that make the council fleet look like toys." We could expand across the galaxy in a single generation. We could become... He stopped, overwhelmed by the possibilities. A superpower. Hana finished for him. We could become the most powerful species in the galaxy. Yes, Hana was quiet for a moment. That is a dangerous thing. Power corrupts. We have seen it in our own history. I know, Minho admitted. But we cannot ignore what we have found. The galaxy is not kind to the weak. The Council proved that when they sent us to die, if we do not grow stronger, someone else will eventually come to destroy what we have built. So what do we do? Minho thought about Elder Yuna's words. Be careful. Plan. Make sure that even if you fail, the rest survive. We build, he said finally. We build carefully and secretly. We create a fleet and an infrastructure that can protect our people. And when we are ready, we reveal ourselves to the galaxy. Not as conquerors, but as equals. We show them what humanity has become, and if they try to destroy us anyway, Minho's face hardened. Then we defend ourselves. We did not survive the outer rim by being gentle. We survived by being strong. Over the following months, humanity began its transformation. Using precursor technology, they built shipyards hidden among asteroid fields. New vessels took shape, sleek and powerful, incorporating the best of human engineering and ancient alien science. The radiation harvesters were upgraded to produce 10 times more power. New stations rose in the darkness, expanding human territory across the outer rim. The population grew as word spread quietly through human networks. 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. People came from Earth and the old colonies, drawn by the promise of a new future. They worked and built and dreamed together, united by a common purpose. Captain Junho returned to Station Horizon as a hero. The pillar on the precursor station had given him knowledge that would take years to fully understand. But already, he was helping design the next generation of human technology. We received a message from Earth, Minji told him one day. The Council has officially declared humanity extinct. They say the outer rim claimed us. Just as they predicted, Junho smiled. Let them believe that. Their ignorance protects us. For how long? Eventually, someone will notice what we are building. By then, it will be too late for them to stop us. The galaxy rejected humanity. They called us children and sent us to die. Now we will show them what those children have become. Junho looked out at the stars, at the empire rising in the darkness. One day soon, he said, we will return to the Council, and everything will be different. That day was coming faster than anyone knew. 100 years had passed since the Council's rejection. 100 years since humanity had been cast into the darkness. In that time, the galaxy had continued its slow dance of politics and power. New species rose and fell. Wars were fought and forgotten. The great civilizations grew comfortable in their dominance. No one thought about the humans anymore. The council chamber looked exactly as it had a century ago. The same white pillars, the same starlit ceiling, the same seats filled with delegates who believed themselves masters of the universe. High Speaker Kira now held Vorn's position, a descendant of the same Kelthari bloodline that had ruled for generations. She had the same 4 eyes, the same gray skin, the same absolute certainty in her own superiority. Today's session was supposed to be routine, trade agreements, border disputes, the endless business of managing a galaxy. Then the doors opened, and everything changed. Admiral Tejo walked into the chamber. He was old now, his hair silver, and his face marked by time. But he moved with the same quiet strength he had always possessed. Behind him came Representative Subin, a woman of 40 with sharp eyes and a calm expression. They were followed by a delegation of humans, all dressed in uniforms that no council species recognized. For a moment, absolute silence filled the hall. Delegates stared in disbelief. Some actually rose from their seats, unable to process what they were seeing. "Impossible," whispered one delegate. "They are dead," said another. "They must be dead." High Speaker Kira recovered first. Her 4 eyes narrowed as she studied the humans, looking for some explanation. Some trick. "Who are you?" she demanded. How did you enter this chamber? Admiral Tejo stepped forward. His voice was calm and clear, carrying to every corner of the massive hall. I am Admiral Tejo of the Human Alliance. 100 years ago, I stood in this chamber and asked for humanity's place among the stars. I was refused. I was told to go to the outer rim and die. I have returned to report that we did not follow those instructions. Chaos erupted. Delegates shouted questions and accusations. Some called for guards. Others demanded explanations. The noise was tremendous. Echoing off the ancient walls, Kira raised all four of her hands, commanding silence. It took several minutes, but eventually the chamber quieted. Explain yourself, Kira said. The outer rim is death. No species survives there. We have had no contact with humanity for a century. You cannot simply appear and claim to represent an extinct species. Tejo smiled slightly. It was not a kind smile. Representative Subin, he said. Show them. Subin activated a device on her wrist. Holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, filling the air with images and data. The delegates watched in growing horror as the truth unfolded before them. Human space stretched across 300 star systems. Stations and colonies dotted the outer rim, connected by trade routes and communication networks. A population of 50 billion humans lived and worked in territories larger than some council empires. And the ships. The displays showed human vessels that made council technology look primitive. Sleek warships with weapons that could crack planets. Carriers that held thousands of fighter craft. Defense platforms that surrounded every major settlement. This is impossible, Kira breathed. Clearly not, Subin replied. Humanity did not merely survive the outer rim. We thrived. We built something that your ancestors never imagined possible. How? Demanded a Veltari delegate. The radiation alone should have killed you within a generation. We learned to harvest it, Subin explained. What kills other species? We turned into fuel. The outer rim's dangers became our resources. While you sat comfortable in your protected systems, we adapted. We evolved. We became something new. The displays shifted, showing the precursor station that Junho had discovered decades ago. And we found allies, Subin continued. The precursors left gifts hidden in the places you were too afraid to explore. Technology beyond anything the Council has developed. They were waiting for a species brave enough to reach them. Humanity was that species. Kira's face had gone pale. She looked at the displays, at the evidence of human power, and saw her world crumbling. What do you want? She asked. Her voice had lost its arrogance. Now it held fear. Admiral Tejo stepped forward again. 100 years ago, I asked for 3 star systems. I was laughed at and sent to die. Today, I do not ask for anything. I do not need your permission or your approval. Humanity has already taken its place among the stars. Then why come here? Asked another delegate. Why reveal yourselves? Because we believe in fairness, Tejo said. We believe in giving others the chances we were denied. The Council rejected humanity once. We offer you a choice. Join us as equals in building a better galaxy, or continue on your own path. We will not force you. We will not attack you. But we will not be ignored or dismissed, ever again. Kira tried to recover her composure. You speak of partnership, but you show us weapons. You talk of peace while displaying the power to destroy us. This sounds like a threat. It is not a threat, Subin said firmly. It is reality. The galaxy has changed. Humanity has changed it. You can adapt to that change, or resist it. The choice is yours. And if we choose to resist, if the Council decides that humanity is a threat to galactic stability, Tejo's eyes hardened. He had waited 100 years for this moment, carrying the memory of that long-ago humiliation. Then you will discover what we are truly capable of, he said quietly. We survived because we had to. We built because we had no choice. We became strong because weakness meant death. If the Council forces us to defend ourselves, we will, and you will not enjoy the result. The chamber fell silent again. Delegates looked at each other. seeing their own fear reflected in alien eyes. For the first time in thousands of years, the council faced a power it could not control or dismiss. Tejo softened his tone slightly. But that is not what we want. We have no desire for war or revenge. We simply want recognition, respect, a seat at the table that should have been given to us long ago. High Speaker Kira considered his words. She was proud and stubborn, like her ancestors, but she was not stupid. The displays around her showed a human civilization that could crush the council if it chose to. Fighting was not an option. You ask us to accept humans as equals, she said slowly. After you have hidden from us for a century. After you have built weapons that threaten everything we have created. We hid because we had to, Subin replied. Your ancestors sent us to die. We could not trust that your generation would be different. Now that we are strong enough to protect ourselves, we reveal the truth. This is not deception, it is survival. Kira was silent for a long moment. Then she looked at the other delegates, reading their expressions. The council will need time to discuss this, she finally said. Your appearance is unexpected. There are many questions that must be answered. We understand, Tejo said. We have waited 100 years. We can wait a little longer. He turned to leave, then paused and looked back at the High Speaker. My predecessor, Admiral Tejo the Elder, stood in this chamber and was humiliated. He is gone now, but his legacy lives in every human child born in the stars. Remember that as you deliberate. We are not the same desperate species that came begging for scraps. We are something greater now. Something your rejection created. He walked out of the chamber, his delegation following. Behind them, they left a council in crisis, struggling to accept a new reality. In the corridor outside, Subin spoke quietly to Tejo. Do you think they will join us? Tejo smiled. Some will. Others will resist out of pride or fear. But in the end, they will all have to accept the truth. The galaxy is no longer theirs to control. Humanity has arrived, and nothing will ever be the same. They walked toward their ship, leaving the council to contemplate a future they had never imagined. The balance of power had shifted forever. 200 years had passed since humanity's exile began. 200 years since a young species had been cast into darkness and told to die. The galaxy that existed now was nothing like the one that had made that terrible decision. Station Horizon had grown into a city among the stars. What began as a single wheel of metal and hope now sprawled across thousands of kilometers, home to 10 million people. It was the capital of the human alliance, the heart of a civilization that spanned half the galaxy. Today was the anniversary of remembrance. Millions gathered in the great plaza at the station's center. A space designed to hold crowds for exactly this purpose. Holographic screens floated above them, carrying the ceremony to billions more across human territory. Elder Yuna stood at the podium. She was 243 years old now, kept alive by the medical technology the precursors had left behind. Her body was frail, but her mind remained sharp. She was the last living connection to the original Exodus, the last person who remembered the day humanity had been rejected. Around her stood the leaders of the new generation. Commander Do-hyun represented the military. A man of 40 who had never known a time when humanity was weak. His daughter, little Sora, held his hand, watching with wide eyes. Scientists, diplomats, engineers, and artists filled the platform, each representing some aspect of what humanity had become. And among them stood aliens. Delegates from dozens of council species had come to honor the anniversary. High Speaker Mira of the Kalthari was there, a descendant of both Vorn and Kira, wearing robes that showed her respect for human tradition. The old enemies had become partners, united by necessity and, eventually, by genuine friendship. Yuna raised her ancient hands, and the crowd fell silent. 200 years ago, she began, her voice carried by technology to every ear. I was a young woman standing in a ship with Admiral Tejo. We had just been told that humanity had no place among the stars. We had been sent to die in the outer rim, abandoned by a galaxy that considered us children. She paused, letting the words settle over the crowd. I remember the silence in that ship. I remember the anger, and the fear, and the despair. Everything we had worked for, everything we had hoped for, had been taken away with a few contemptuous words. We were alone in the darkness, facing certain death. Her eyes moved across the plaza, taking in the massive crowd, the gleaming towers, the ships passing overhead. Look around you now. Look at what we built from nothing. Look at what humanity became when we had no choice but to survive. Stations and colonies across 300 systems. 50 billion people living free under stars that were supposed to be our grave. Technology that the galaxy has never seen. A civilization that rose from exile to lead the known universe. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a wave of pride and emotion that swept through the plaza. Yuna smiled, but it was a smile touched with sadness. We did not do this alone, she continued. Along the way, we found allies. The precursors, who left their gifts for species brave enough to find them. And eventually, the council species themselves, who learned that partnership was better than conflict. She turned to look at High Speaker Mira, who nodded in acknowledgement. The Kelthari sent us to die, Yuna said. And today, their descendants stand beside us as friends. This is the true measure of humanity's victory. Not our weapons or our technology, but our ability to forgive, our willingness to build bridges instead of walls, our choice to lift others up rather than push them down. Mira stepped forward to speak. Her 4 eyes glistened with emotion as she addressed the crowd. My ancestors made a terrible mistake, she said. They judged humanity by fear and arrogance. They saw a young species and assumed weakness. They saw ambition and assumed threat. They were wrong, and the galaxy suffered for their blindness. She looked at Yuna with genuine respect. The Kelthari have ruled the council for thousands of years. In all that time, we never produced a civilization as remarkable as what humanity built in 2 centuries. You did not merely survive rejection. You transformed it into strength. You turned exile into opportunity. You proved that the measure of a species is not age or power, but spirit and determination. The crowd listened in respectful silence as Mira continued. Today, the council no longer exists as it once did. In its place stands the Galactic Alliance, a partnership of equals where every species has a voice. Humanity did not demand this change. They simply demonstrated a better way, and the galaxy chose to follow. She turned back to Yuna. On behalf of the Kelthari people, and on behalf of all the species who once rejected humanity, I offer our deepest apology and our eternal gratitude. You showed us what we could become. You lifted us up when you had every right to push us down. For that, we will never forget. Yuna took Mira's hand, a gesture of reconciliation that brought tears to countless eyes across the galaxy. The past is past, Yuna said gently. What matters is the future we build together. The ceremony continued with speeches and music and celebration. Commander Do-hyun spoke about the military's role in protecting the Alliance. Scientists demonstrated new technologies that would benefit all species. Artists performed works that celebrated the diversity of galactic culture. Through it all, little Sora watched with fascination. She was 6 years old, born into a galaxy where humanity stood at the center of everything. She had never known fear or rejection. She had never experienced the despair of exile or the struggle of survival. Her father noticed her watching the aliens in the crowd, studying their strange forms with curiosity. What are you thinking about? Do-hyun asked. They are so different from us, Sora said. But they came to our celebration. Why? Do-hyun knelt beside his daughter, bringing himself to her eye level. Because we are all connected now, he explained. Humans and Kelthari and Veltari and all the others. We share this galaxy together. Once, that was not true. Once, species fought and competed and tried to destroy each other. But your great-great-grandmother and the others who came before us chose a different path. They decided that strength was not about domination. It was about building something that could last. Is that why we share the precursor technology? Yes. The precursors left their gifts in dangerous places, so that only the strongest species would find them. They wanted those species to earn the right to lead the galaxy. But leading does not mean controlling. It means helping. It means using your power to make things better for everyone. Sora thought about this for a moment. Then she smiled. I want to help too, she said. When I grow up, I want to explore new places and find new friends. Do-hyun hugged his daughter, pride swelling in his heart. You will, he promised. The galaxy is bigger than anyone knows. There are still places no one has explored, mysteries no one has solved, species no one has met. Your generation will discover wonders we cannot imagine. As the celebration wound down, Yuna stood one final time at the podium. The crowd had thinned, but millions still watched through the holographic screens. I will not live forever, she said quietly. Even with our advanced medicine, my time is running out. Soon the last person who remembers the exile will be gone. But the memory must not fade. She looked directly into the cameras, speaking to generations yet unborn. Remember that we were once cast aside. Remember that we were told we would never amount to anything. Remember the darkness we faced and the choices we made. Remember that power is not measured by weapons or territory, but by what you do with what you have. Her voice grew stronger, filled with passion. You are the children of exiles. You carry in your blood the strength of those who refuse to surrender. Never forget that. Never let comfort make you soft or success make you arrogant. The galaxy trusted humanity to lead because we earned that trust through sacrifice and determination. Honor that legacy. Build on it. Make the next 200 years even greater than the last. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was gentle. The council cast us aside. They thought they were sending us to our deaths. Instead, they sent us to our destiny. What was meant to destroy us made us who we are, and who we are is the hope of the galaxy. Yuna stepped back from the podium as the crowd roared their approval. Do-hyun helped her off the stage, supporting her frail body with gentle hands. Did I do well? Yuna asked softly. You did perfectly, Do-hyun assured her. As always, Yuna smiled and looked up at the stars visible through the plaza's transparent dome. Somewhere out there, new expeditions were charting unknown space. New colonies were rising on distant worlds. New generations were being born into a galaxy full of possibility. Humanity had been cast aside. They had responded by claiming the stars. Power had been placed in their hands. They had used it to lift everyone up. The story was not over. It would never be over. Each generation would write new chapters, face new challenges, discover new wonders. But the foundation had been laid by those first exiles, those stubborn humans who refused to die when the galaxy wanted them dead. Their legacy would endure forever.